What do you feel like?
I don't know. Well, Daniel, Daniel's my Christian name, so my actual name is Ajak. So it's in the community, or if you were to ask my relatives or cousins or friends from my tribe, the name is Ajak. But the wider community knows me, or the wider Australian community knows me as Daniel. And then in the legal practice, in the legal profession, I'm known as Mr. Ajak. So I guess you could say Daniel, he's a young African man, young African Australian, a young South Sudanese Australian who runs a generalist law practice in Footscray, and after having spent 13 years in a refugee camp, came to Australia in 2004. And he's called Australia home for the last 20 years and only moved to Melbourne in 2017. So in the last sort of 7 years, he's really worked hard, to try and set up a practice, that's able to provide representation, to members of our community and the wider community. So I think Daniel, to borrow words from Dr. Nelson, Daniel's selfless, he's caring, and he's brave, in the choices he makes. They're very deliberate. So my journey to settlement has been, so it was driven by seeing a need, an opportunity to really give back and to use my skill set. So in about 2016, there was a lot of negative media about South Sudanese and young African men, sort of being referred to as gangs, and I knew at the time there weren't any criminal defence lawyers in Melbourne of South Sudanese background or origins, or at least people that were sort of moving around the traps in the trenches, helping our young people. So I said, I've got to be in Melbourne, and that's when I rang up actually a friend of mine who's South Sudanese and is a legal practitioner. His name is Mr. Kot Banar. He's got his own practice, Sunshine Lawyers. Kot at the time was the leader of the South Sudanese community, and in that capacity he would provide support letters to legal practitioners who supported our people. And one of those guys was a bloke called Andrew Papa de Motroplos, or Andrew Papa. So he had his own practice, Papa Hughes, and it was through the connection with Kot that Kot introduced me to Andrew, and from there the rest was history. Andrew interviewed me, and he gave me a job. So I moved to Melbourne, and it's funny what he asked me, talking about settlement. In the interview, he asked me, did you live in the refugee camp in Kakuma? And I said yes, and he said you're hired, because he saw strength in that, the fact that I've lived a hard life. He valued that is something I could sort of bring to the table in terms of my work, and taking the work I do seriously to really help the most vulnerable people in our community. The South Sudanese community and the African community in Melbourne, it's very vibrant. We're here in Footscray. It's often referred to as Port of Africa or Juba. Whether you want injera, or you want South Sudanese food, or you want to send money back to your family and your loved ones back home, or you want to buy hair, or you want to get a haircut, it's all, all happens here. So soon I moved to Melbourne, it was really, I had relatives here and I had friends here, and I've sort of been back and forth between Melbourne and Adelaide over the years as I was living in Australia. So it was really, perhaps it was a smooth transition, I just had to get used to the weather, which is everyone that moves to Melbourne. Yeah, eventually we got there.
Are there any differences you have noticed in the African community in Adelaide and Melbourne?
Look, I think that the African community in Melbourne, in Victoria, it's much more larger. There's more. It's probably, I'm not sure what the stats are, but I'm pretty sure we're probably top New South Wales in terms of African population. and there's really large communities from South Sudan, from Ethiopia, from Somalia, from Zimbabwe, sort of across the continent, So you get really sort of exposed, to the wider communities. Where in Adelaide, there's more a majority of South Sudanese, and then there are a lot of refugees or migrants that had come from like Liberia and Sierra Leone, so it's sort of, and Adelaide was small, you sort of, everything's 15-minute drive. So when they're community events, you sort of get everyone there at once, Where in Melbourne, it's sort of, yes, the city is a hub, but you've got the southeast, and the western suburbs, and sometimes, it's sort of, because those places like an hour and a half or like an hour apart, you don't really, it might take, it just gets a bit harder, to make time for friends and families, or to venture across to the other side of the city for any sort of community events, But the city itself, and what's really different, like in Adelaide, there weren't, I think because of the small population, and Adelaide being so small, there weren't a lot of African professionals in Adelaide, Where in Melbourne, because there's more than 6 million people here, it's very multicultural. I think the government is really progressive, So the opportunities, for African people, for people of colour, and it's going to be on Collins Street or Burke Street, or the sort of the Parasite to Collins Street, and you can actually see members of our community, who work, into the higher roles within the private sector of government, and that's very, that's something I've noticed, it's really different, compared to Adelaide. Look, I mean, I expected a larger African community. I expected, maybe a higher sort of level of collaboration where both communities sort of get together and work together as a team collectively. And that was there, but to some degree, it wasn't really, I don't know, maybe that could have been, maybe that could have been better, in terms of just something. I know the African Music and Cultural Festival was really big year. African Day is really big year, and we've got heaps of soccer tournaments, but I'm not sure if there's a real sort of peak body, other than that is government appointed, where it's very collaborative in nature, where each country, doesn't matter, are represented, And actually, I'll give you an example, So when I came to Melbourne, I worked in private practice for a year and a half on Queen Street, and then I moved to Legal Aid for 2 years, When I started working at Legal Aid, there's an older fella, Uncle Joseph. He's from Cameroon. He'd worked in the same building as I did, and he was working for Department of Human Services, or Centrelink. And I bumped into Lift once, and we really became friends. He became like a father figure, like an uncle and a mentor. And Mr. Joseph, from that year, he invited me over to his house, over Christmas, So Christmas Eve, he'll have all the Cameroonian people in Melbourne, Victoria, come to his house, and they'll gather for a feed, and him and his wife will host everyone, and that's sort of become a tradition, which is really, it was something very comforting, and I just wonder, how many communities sort of do that, and whether that's something, I can understand they've got a smaller community, so in terms of the people that come to the house, it's not too overwhelming, but I think that's, like South Sudan, Cameroon, like two, on the other side of the continent, far. But I think our African heritage, and what Uncle Joseph saw in me, he sort of, he felt the responsibility, or the urge to really connect with me, and sort of be there, and I'm still, in fact, I've got his dinner coming up Christmas Eve, and that's something I look forward to every year. So that's sort of, I think we need that level of sort of commitment, to each other, both young people and older people, and really, to see any other African, you see in the street, as a brother, or sister. Look, I think as a criminal defence lawyer, and in the sort of space I work in, or also even as a community member, I've seen too many young lives sort of lost by suicide, including people that are close to me, people with relatives, and I think that's only been driven really by social isolation, and really because we come from a culture where sort of mental health is not really a thing. If you're undergoing depression or anxiety, that's a receiving sign of weakness rather than like a mental health problem or mental diagnosis, and we come from a culture where it's really it's sort of our parents aren't really they sort of grew up in a different generation, so they can't it's really hard for them to have the perspective of a young person, and the person who's undergoing a hard time, to really to be able to relate and support them, or at least direct them to services that could support them. They don't really they themselves don't have the tools or just haven't had the education to really to be able to be equipped to be there for their loved ones who are really having a hard time. And I think as a result of that, you sort of really, people see become more and more isolated, and ultimately they take their life, So it's really that's sort of sad. It's very tragic, and also like I think drug use and alcohol doesn't help as well. So these are things which sort of they worsen your mental health, and sometimes those who are affected by mental health, just because of that condition, they don't know any better. They don't know any better, and and they'll turn to those things as a coping mechanism, which of course will worsen the situation, and really makes it harder for those who care and those who love them, to be able to assist them, So I think it's a pandemic, like but it's not just the African community, it's a wider Australian community, and really we sort of need to find a way as a community, both young people and those who are older, and those who are coming before us, to really to come up with strategy or sort of work together to find alternative ways of solving these problems. And of course there's specific like mental health practitioners like the Paula practice, the two young ladies who run that organisation, the African, and they're specialised and trained in that sort of space, So these are sort of services young people can sort of reach out to. I've done a lot of work with Afri Oscar, out in South in Springvale with Selva Mendoza Luca, she's a trained mental health clinician, and she's really she's big on the Ubuntu principle, and really takes charge, You sort of she takes she really takes a role on of a mum, as well as someone who's there to support you get through tough times. So look, I think I've sort of ran it on, but it's one of those things without sort of investment and effort being put into, it's really you can't there's not much difference that can be made. So both community and governments and the private sector need to work to really find a way home, and even I find it for members of my community who go through the criminal defence system, who've either been diagnosed with schizophrenia or drug-induced psychosis, even that, you've got to really, it takes time to build trust and rapport with them, because they themselves, due to their mental health, they're not really aware, or that, and it's hard, it's harder for me, let alone, other legal practitioners who don't have lived experience or who are not African Australian. So it's really I think places like sort of if we need to spend more time together, so people are distracted from having time to themselves and really dig deep into their thoughts. The reason I set up in Footscray, so when we started the practice in April 2020, we've been on Little Collins in the city, actually start off a bank place. So I'm not sure if you guys know that, but yeah, it's between Little Collins and Collins Street. At Bank Place, you know, the oldest pub in Victoria, it's there. It's called Mitre Tavern, I think. Yeah. So it's what I did find hard. You know, if I had African Australian clients or South Sudanese clients in particular, especially those older blokes or like older clients, you know, it was really difficult for them to navigate the city, you know. So I find myself often going to Southern Cross or Flagstaff, you know, to meet the client and then walk them back to the office, you know, and interview them, and then again take them back, you know, to the station so they can get back to Footscray or home. And I thought, you know, really, why not come to Footscray? You know, it's a hub. They can easily come to Footscray. You know, there's parking. You know, there's public transport, and they could simply ask, you know, one of the uncles or the aunties, you know, where's Mr. Ajak office, you know, and someone can directly point that to them. You know, so that's one aspect was to, you know, if I want to provide access to justice, you know, for the members of our community, they need to be able to access my services, you know, and a key to that sometime, you know, it's actually getting there, you know. So by being in Footscray, you know, we actually, you know, we're in the heart of the community, you know, and you know, you can't serve a community if you're not there. And also, I just wanted, you know, like young kids, you know, because parents and families do come to Footscray with their kids, you know, to go shopping, yeah, and I want them to see a side of Footscray, yeah, that's also, you know, professional, yeah. That's also they can look up, you know, at the Ajak and Associate sign, you know, or see me and my colleagues, yeah, and can be like, well, yeah, we can be like Daniel or Amjad, yeah, or Security, you know, or Nafa or Senna or Courtney, yeah, because they can see, yeah, that there's also a legal firm or law practice in Footscray, yeah. So it's really, yeah, because that information is never really available, and a simple thing such as being available all the time, yeah, it could be the difference between, say for example, if someone is interviewed by police, yeah, and you give them advice, you know, to make a no comment interview, that could be the difference, you know, between whether those charges are made out or they're not, yeah. So it's really it's all about giving access, yeah, to the community, and also, you know, just to be present in Footscray, so both young and old people, you know, can see we exist, and that, yeah, we can, yeah, we can have those, we can aspire to be, you know, to be in those sort of profession, you know, whether it's law, medicine, yeah, finance, yeah. And yeah, that's why, yeah, hence a move to Footscray.
How do you take care of your own mental health?
Well, I play a lot of soccer. I do a bit of running as well. So I'm playing soccer this evening at 6 o'clock. Yesterday I ran 13k. I play indoor soccer on Monday nights. So it's really when I try to make time to exercise. I also go to church regularly. It's a Dinka service, so it's in my language. So that's every Sunday. I've got a couple hours to sort of escape from work, yeah, and really, I'll be with community, yeah, be with friends, and I think that's sort of that's how I perhaps sort of manage. I've really cut down, yeah, this year in terms of, sort of like getting in more sleep, you know, like 7 hours a day, because I think last year in about November, you know, I got shingles, and that's sort of, yeah, that's a condition, yeah, that can come as a result of sort of being, yeah, sort of the body giving up, yeah, and that's what the doctor said, yeah. So I've sort of been there, yeah, and I was lucky that's all that happened, yeah. That, yeah, it was just a body that sort of broke down, yeah, rather than my mental health. So I'd encourage, yeah, other young professionals, other young African business owners, yeah, who really, put in the hard yards, yeah, to get to their goals, yeah, to sort of, yeah, to pace it out, yeah. It's really, it's a marathon rather than a sprint, yeah. So sometimes deadlines, aren't really like, if they're not met, it doesn't mean, the consequences are going to be severe, and you've got to really focus on other things, such as your physical health and mental health, especially when you're a young person like myself, or any other young person that, because once you get to your 60s, you sort of realise, how much you take for granted, when you're young, in terms of physical and mental health. So, look, you've asked me about like young people trajectory. I'm very optimistic about the future. I think as a community, we've been very fortunate that we get to live in a country where there's a freedom of press. We've got a separate judiciary from the executive government. That there's a rule of law. You can there's also access to sort of free education in terms of university, and these opportunities that are sort of available to our young people. So and you like negative things aside, there's a lot of young men and women who are doctors, who are lawyers, who are engineers, who work in government and private sector, who work also in manufacturing and warehousing, who also work in trade and have their own businesses, whether it's a sparky, a chippy, or a carpenter, or work in building construction, whether it's a roof tiler and they've got their own business. So there's real, and then also you just got to look at the sports space, there's more young African men being drafted, to the Australian football rules every year. You look at the Socceroos men's team, we're represented there. You look at athletics, we're represented there, so it's really, it's really, it's. I believe the future is bright, because we've got, you don't have to be, you don't have to be a son of a prime minister to go to Melbourne University, or to go to University of Sydney, or you can really, you can have a fair go, you can really, you can have a little crack, if you've got the support system in place to support and nurture your dreams and your goals, your ambitions. And I think if our parents or collectively as a community, if we support our young people, really get there, because it's sort of with being open-minded, that we're a global community and the world's sort of moving, sort of like 100 years sort of forward, not 100 years backward, and really embrace that. I think there's real hope that our young people can not only can they better their lives here, but really they might be in a position in the future, when position of power, to go back to the continent, and sort of drive some of those changes back there, which we haven't really seen in the last, I don't know, 200 years or 100 years or. If we talk about mental health in terms of perspective from the client's perspective, or members of the community who sort of reach out for services, I think what happens is, normally when people have legal matters or legal issues, that can be really stressful time in their life, because they're not sure what to do, whether they're charged with criminal offences, or they want to be interviewed in relation to a criminal offence, or they've just had a work-related injury, and they've got to go through workers' compensation, and see a personal injury lawyer, or they've just bought a car, and they've been ripped off, or the taxation office might be after them, or they've got a dispute with their neighbour, or whether it's an intervention order, or they're going through separation. I think what the practice does is, when a person reaches out, they're able to sort of upload that onto us, and we can really manage, we can manage the situation, not only just giving them legal advice, but sort of managing by giving them, by managing their expectation, and sort of in a simplified manner or form or language, about the steps involved, like what's the next stage, in the matter, in the proceedings, how long, is it going to take, for this matter, to go from point A to point B, from the start, to when the matter is finalised, and I think that sort of gives, and also, they know we've got lived experience, So I think there's real sort of comfort, because if that's the most stressful time in your life, I think just knowing that there's someone who's there to listen to them, because it's the legal system, it's complex. It's not even for mainstream or Anglo-Australian. It can be complex. Even for people who've had a formal education, who you might consider professional intellectuals, if they're not lawyers, even if they're doctors, and they've got to navigate the legal system or the legal process, it can be overwhelming, and I think that's sort of that can ease up the stress, or sort of the feeling of not really not sure what's going on. You feel like you're sort of in the dark, so I think from that perspective, it sort of assists clients, who might, that could have been where that legal issue or that legal matter they had, could really sort of worsen their mental health. So if we come in at the right time, I think that could be the difference, to give them some hope, and sort of create some sort of stability. In terms of the work, in terms of my sort of mental health or what I've seen, for those clients, I can only talk from a criminal defence perspective. It's like in criminal law, if you're charged with really serious offences, and at the time of offending, if you're psychotic, and your lawyers, can, with the assistance of an expert witness, so normally a psychiatrist, who commission a report, an expert report, that can say that at the time of the offending, you had a defence of mental impairment available to you. So that is, you're so psychotic, that you didn't have intent or the mental element to commit the offence, and then that defence sort of becomes available to you, and there's a process to that, and also there's also the question of fitness, fitness is, it's not to do with your with you being psychotic, at the time. A lot of the time it's about, can you give instructions to your lawyers, do you actually understand the charges against you, do you understand the legal process, do you understand what's alleged against you, and how that occurred, and can you relay back to your lawyers, and instruction about the matter, whether you've got any defences available to you. That's a question of fitness, and again, you need expert. Those reports are normally done by expert psychiatrists or neuropsychologists, who prepared reports for the court, and having worked with some members of the community who sort of have had to undergo through that process, I think it was made easy by the fact that I was from South Sudan, and we could relate, because they were from the same sort of community, and also I could relay that information, to the family, that if he's if the defence of mental impairment is made out, and this young person, or this particular client, is likely to be placed on what's called a supervision order, and it can either be custodial or non-custodial order, and these orders go for 20 years, and the purpose of the order, is not really, yes, it's sort of, it restricts your freedom, but it's really to support you, so you're not putting yourself at harm or other people at harm in the future, and really mitigate against risk of offending, So I think that's how I've seen my role as a legal practitioner, and as a community advocate, or in my role as criminal defence practitioner, just to be able to take the family or my clients sort of loved one, in that sort of journey, so they're not in the dark, because those sort of systems can be very complex, and the reality, sometimes, you need that, and we don't just serve the African community, we serve the wider community, but the whole point of the practice in the first place, if you're an African Australian, and you really feel the need that only an African Australian lawyer might be able to understand your needs and your issues, and then you reach out. you've got access. It's Daniel, and then in 10 years time, our offices would have expanded here from Footscray to Little Collins. We're already in Adelaide, and the hope is that we'll open up branches in Sydney, Brisbane, and Perth, and down the track, the continent as well. So we've got 10 years to get there.